there gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Code channel, and today we have a preview of Storyfold Wildwoods. Well, hey there gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Code channel. It's Professor Meg here, and today we have a preview of Storyfold Wildwoods. Now this is brought to you by Open Owl Studios. You can check out the link down below because they have an upcoming Kickstarter. It has not quite yet launched, but will be launching imminently, and that is going to be for this game you see in front of you. Now this is a sponsored video, all components subject to change. This is a prototype copy that we have, but that being said, I'm going to be talking a little bit about how to play the game, as well as showing a bit about the components and how they have the save state of this game, because I think it's very interesting. But that being said, this is a true solo game as well. There's a ton of narrative, so I think if you have little ones that enjoy hearing you read stories, you could read a lot of the narrative to them, so there is a little bit of a way to engage if you are a solo player that sometimes brings your little ones into the story. But that being said, this is a true solo game where you are going to be playing as Luma and her companion Brom, who is a bear, and you are going through the Wildwoods trying to both help the different creatures that are there, and you are also being plagued by these visions that are honestly a little bit scary, but overall you're trying to restore light. So you're bringing light to everything, and Brom is there to help you, and you are going to be going through these different narrative arcs, which are known as chapters, and each chapter will be made up as scenes. So here we have scene 1, which is crossing the river. And I will note that this is a story-driven game. They're going to be playing through 5 different chapters of these different scenes. And so that being said, I'm only going to show you this first prologue page. Now, there's a bit of content out there about this game already that you can see a bit more if you want to be spoiled and know what's going to happen. But I'm going to talk a lot more about the mechanics and the feel of the game. So just know this is as spoiled as you will get, is that you are going to see this very first prologue chapter. Now, we are about currently halfway through the first scene of the prologue, and something to note is that the game teaches you how to play while going through different cards. So it'll have you interacting with both the game mechanics, such as the story cards and things like that, but it will also have you go through these to learn the game. So this is how you'll be walked through absolutely everything in the game, and with that, we are going to talk about the core concepts. So in the game, you're going to have these different scenes, and there's going to be a couple things that you're trying to juggle. You're trying to light the scene, so you're trying to move this light marker over to the center because that's how you would progress for the different scenes, while you're also trying to make sure that this shadow marker does not reach to over here, because then you would also be in trouble. Now, as you're interacting with the different actions in the scenes, you're going to place these markers for the locations showing that you have used it. So you're not able to use multiple locations multiple times. Sorry, you're not able to use a location multiple times, but that being said, there are 2 different types of locations. There are going to be the ones that are necessary for you to progress through the scene, which is crossing, which is drawing story card 1, and then onwards drawing story card 2, and then there are ones that are just helpful for you, such as untangle, and this one would gain you crystals, which we'll get into what those will do in a second, but just know that these are the general actions that you're trying to take. Now, meanwhile, you are also interacting with the creatures in the shadow phase of the game, because that's what's going to be coming at you and stopping you from doing what you want to do. So here at the top you have your setup instructions and different effects throughout the game, your win and lose conditions, and then here within your dashboard you have all of the cards that you're going to be playing with throughout the game. So you have your Luna and Brom, that's the current stance that you're in. You have your deck of shadow cards. This is currently flipped over, but these are your story cards, which you'll be drawing and discarding, but I left this here just to show you what it is. There's also your explore cards, your creature cards, and then your different tokens that are available. Now you have over here your boons as well as Brom. Brom has an ability that he's going to be able to help you out. And you also have this spirit track that if your spirit track ever gets to the end, it will reset over to the beginning, but when you do so, you will draw a shadow card. And there is a shadow card that is just called lost, meaning that you would lose that scenario. So in this example, if that were to happen, you would lose the scenario. However, Brom is here to save the day, and he can stop you from drawing 1 shadow card. So you would be able to stop that in this instance, but if it were to loop again, you would draw a shadow card. Now down here we have the river, and the river is going to be one of the most important parts of the game apart from the actual scene itself. The river is where it contains your 4 main actions that you'll be doing on your turn, which are represented by these different cards, and this is also where creatures come into play to make casting these actions harder for you, and also that's what allows them to perform their attacks against you. So for example, we have light, heal, explore, and help, and those are the core actions that you're going to be taking to interact with the game. Now, these numbers here, 3+, 4+, 5+, and 6+, are what you need to roll, because you'll be rolling dice to be taking all of these actions. Every turn, you're going to have 5 d8s available, so you'll have your 5 d8s, and then as you use them, you'll send them over here to your used dice pool, and at the beginning of every turn for your Luma phase, you will gain them all again, deciding what to use for your different actions. So, for example, our light ability here is how you would light the different creatures. So if we wanted to use our light ability, it's a 3+, which is pretty easy, and when you're lighting a creature, you are attempting to stun them, so they have a defense against that. The cry here has a 1. It's only a 1 yellow circle, so we only need a 1 to be able to light him and stun him. So with that, I think we'll roll 2 dice, hoping to get a 3+. And yep, we got an 8, so we got 1 success, meaning that we can light this creature because he did only need 1. Now, if he needed 2 for a success, where we currently have 2 crystal tokens on light, we would be able to spend 1 to add a success. To use crystal tokens, you need at least 1 natural success from your dice, but after that you're able to spend them to be able to get additional successes. Now, when you light a creature, you're going to get to stun them, which is great because during the next shadow phase they won't get to activate, but then you're also going to move them to the end of the river, because currently this one is taking up the 4+ spot, meaning that healing and explore are even harder to do just because this creature is in the river. So when we stun him, we're going to move him over here to the end of the river, and then everything will slide down, making these actions even easier to do and making help actually possible to do. After that, because we activated our light ability, we will then move this over here to the end of the river. Now, these cards do have a top and a bottom to them, where light was gain successes to light 1 creature, which is what we did, but there's also a bottom ability, which is for every success, advance the light marker 1 space. Now, you're only able to do one or the other, but if you ever fail your top ability, you are always able to defer to your bottom ability. So now, to continue going through these different actions, the next one would be heal, because you're trying to heal these creatures and restore light to them. So you would be able to similarly attempt to heal the cry, and for this, they would also need 1 success. Now, I'm going to draw another creature, and this creature, as you can see, would need 2 successes to heal it, but only 1 to stun it. So that's where you can see that they are a bit different, but healing is how you would do that, or how you can also recover your spirit. Now, explore is how you are going to be interacting with the different explore locations. Now, here for cross, you can see it has 2 purple circles under it, so you need 2 successes. You cannot do this with just 1 die unless you happen to have a crystal on you and rolled a success, but you would need at least 2 to be able to do that, and you need at least 1 for this onwards ability. So you would need to explore twice throughout this different scene while doing different things such as stopping creatures, healing the creatures, and you can also take the help action, which I'll go over next. Now, help is how you interact with the help locations, and this one, as I noted, would gain you 2 crystals, which you would immediately place on the cards you want to use them for in the future at that time. So, for example, if we successfully were able to use this help card currently, that would mean that this location wasn't yet used. We would be able to roll, add this here, we would move help down to the end of the river, and then we would be able to gain 2 crystals. Now, another thing about crystals is you are only ever able to have up to 3 on a card, so we could add 1 to our light over here, but then after that we would perhaps add 1 over to explore. Now, as I said, those explore locations are going to have you drawing story cards. So this is how you're going to be interacting with the narrative and finding out exactly what's happening to Luma and Brom and what they're trying to do in the different forests and how you're progressing to the next scene. But in between these different Luma phases, there's going to be a shadow phase where the shadow is going to get to do different things. So all of the creatures are going to take their turns, but after that, a few other things are going to happen as well. So you can see here that the cry has, after activation, move 1 space towards the start of the river. So first, when they activate, they will attack for your spirit level, for their spirit amount. So you are going to take 1 damage from the cry, and then move 1 space towards the start of the river. Now that's what would happen if it did not have this stun token on it, but because of the stun token, we would not take the spirit damage. However, it would still have the after activation ability. Now, the other thing that will happen during the shadow phase is that this marker is going to move toward the center of the Wildwoods track. This track is probably the most important piece of the game because this is how you will win or lose. You need to light the scene to be able to move forward, and if this ever does reach the center and the shadows win, you will lose. Now, to move us back, though, in this one you would move forward once, and you can see that there's a little symbol here up at the top. Now, those different symbols are going to be these shadow effects, which are going to happen during these phases. So for this one, the symbol is above it for this current turn, which is a draw one creature card. So this is where this current creature would get drawn and then put into play. And it says for this one, on play, 6+, meaning that it would make your light ability worse, bump all of these down, and kind of take that spot on you, making him closer to the front of your river, bumping out your different actions, and also just coming to stop you. Now, as I said, this Wildvark is a little bit stronger. He's 2 to heal. He would also provide 2 crystals when you beat him, but he's also doing 3 damage to your spirit, so that can also be very scary. Now, I know I said I wouldn't be too spoilery, so I'm going to do this part a little bit fast, but when you are done with this scene, when you draw story card 2, so this one we would have drawn, story card 2 is going to have us travel to scene 2. So that means you would move forward, meaning that you would remove these from this current top page, and then you would move forward to the next scene. So you would be able to read this and have something happen, and then just to move forward a tiny bit, I'm going to do this very quickly, but here's chapter 1 and what you would do to set up, and then here is a scene, and then you can see it moves you forward to another scene. And you can see where these get more and more complex, so this is just a lot more of what's going to be happening, but I don't want to show you too much because I think it's just very much worth it to go through the story completely on your own. Now, that being said, I also want to show you how clever this is for saving the game when you are in between different chapters, when you want to stop and save it. But when you remove all of these cards and the setup will have you do everything that you need to do to set up the next scene, you'll be able to fold each piece in, and that will save exactly where you are and then close the book. So it saves exactly where you are and fits very, very neatly. So I just wanted to show you that because I think it was very unique how this all opens up, and I also think for a solo player for things such as travel, it's very, very compact. Overall, Storyfold Wildwoods is going to be a game that gives you those base core actions of how to move through something like a scene, and that seems a bit familiar, but then it will get more and more complex. Now, games like this that tend to walk you through a prologue can seem very simple in the beginning, so I would caution everyone that if you think it seems a bit simple, they do tend to escalate with games like this, and I've already seen a bit of escalation throughout everything that was available in this prototype. So the game definitely takes you from being on rails to having a lot of fun and a few surprises toward the end. So I just want to caution you that anything that kind of has a prologue and has to walk you through the beginning rules may seem a bit simple or a bit easy in the beginning, and then as you start feeling everything that the game actually has to offer, you can see just how developed it will actually be. Now, this is a very narrative game. You're going to be going through both the narratives in the book and the different story cards that you're trying to unlock, all while using these different actions that you have available to you. These 4 actions will stay the same, so you'll be able to understand how Luma behaves and how to start using these actions to be stronger and stronger and kind of do what you need to do to mitigate what is happening on the board with the different creatures coming at you, as well as the different shadow effects coming into play. But that being said, every scene is drastically different, and they all pack a narrative punch that is going to have you understanding why you are trying to do the different things you are doing, but also throwing a bit of difficulty at you where it may be hard to try to do the things that you're doing because these different creatures are coming at you. Personally, keeping in mind that this is just a prologue and chapter 1, I think that this was a very satisfying solo experience, especially if you really enjoy a strong narrative punch. You can check out the link down below for everything that Open Owl Studios has planned, and the campaign will be launching soon. I've been Professor Meg. Thank you all for watching the Board Game Code channel, and I will see you next time. Bye.